because a foreign media published that all the so-called international trips that the president embarked upon at the inception of administration were not meant for state visits. He was secretly visiting hospitals in Germany and in the UK for treatment, but didn't want to disclose to the people of Nigeria. And it was when he got to a stage where he could not be handled through those trips that it had to be this disclosure. And you remember in the first trip, the president said he was going to be treating ear infection. I mean, there was a disclosure to that extent that there was going to be treatment for ear infection. We don't know whether that ear infection has been well treated. We don't know whether what the president is going through now is poison, as some people have alleged. We don't know whether what the president is going through is chemotherapy, as others have alleged. So we are entitled. And the consequence of not disclosing is to say a trust has been broken. Because, quote me, yesterday I saw in the newspapers and also in the social media that Buhari campaign organization has been launched in Jigawa State for 2019, openly. And the presidency has said it in the papers this morning that the presidency is fit to continue in 2019. So look, our own concern is not about whether we don't want the president to be treated. It's not about whether the president is not entitled to any vacation, but that we are entitled to know the condition of his state of health. And the reason is this.
Do you find it insulting that a full-fledged campaign in Jigawa State, as you said, was launched, and then the APC leadership is saying that he's ready for 2019?
You know, beyond insult is that the All Progressive Congress has lost the moral right to retain power. It goes beyond the president's state of health. Everything you call a bond between a people and a leader has been broken. Every promise that's been made to Nigerians have been broken, except in a few areas, of course, like the fight against insurgency and, of course, the fight against corruption, minus the media trial, of course. So, I mean, surely we have seen some improvement. But you say you want to devolve power, and then you are in control of the National Assembly, and you've denied that. You talk about fiscal federalism, you've denied that. You talk about openness. The president himself said he was going to run an open government, and he was going to travel to UK for treatment, and he didn't have the courtesy to address us. He addressed Al Jazeera. He addressed private citizens. But we Nigerians who voted him into power are not entitled to know. And the reason why this is so serious is that the Nigerian Constitution imposes an executive president on us. Section 5 says that all the executive powers of the federation are vested in the president. So we anticipate a president that is agile, a president that is active, a president that is functional, a president that will be on his seat 24 hours. So once there is that lack of that capacity, we must be able to know for how long. Because once there's uncertainty, there's no development. Wow. Nobody is investing in this economy now except Dangote. Nobody. The only person that I see every day who is doing one investment profile project is Dangote.
You know, notwithstanding the rights for Nigerian citizens to know what exactly ails the president, but how is it that you say that those who are agitating that he should resume or resign are right, especially when he has fulfilled the constitutional requirements, having transmitted that letter to the Senate, where we now have an acting president?
They are right in the sense that it is clear that there is no sincerity to transmit power. You see, constitution is a different thing. It's a letter. There are words written there. The capacity to implement those letters must be based on the mind of the people who are running the constitution. It was clear to all of us from day one that the president did not genuinely intend to transmit power. That's why he made the acting president a coordinator in the letter that he sent. And you have seen evidence of that.
But the law does not recognize the word coordination. What the law recognizes is to transmit the letter, and then the VP gets to become acting, which is what's happening now. You know,
as we are sitting here this morning, Nigeria is without leadership. The acting president is not exercising power. Because as you can see right within...
But he's still presiding over the Federal Executive Council meeting.
Well, when you say exercising power, I can tell you as I sit here that vital documents are being executed in London. I can tell you here as I sit that vital ministers of state of this federation still travel every now and then.
What kind of vital documents are you talking about?
No, I'm talking about documents of state, memos, approvals.
You're privy to any one of them?
No, you see, generally there are things we can't say here. But I tell you that the president is still the Minister of Petroleum. And he exercises control in respect of every project concerning the oil industry. And that's why there is so much air of uncertainty.
So you believe that memos for that sector is taken to London for signing by the president?
Well, I mean, since the president has been away for 100 days, for instance, he hasn't been able to speak to us, to address Nigerians. But yesterday you saw children of the OPEC secretary attending to the president. You saw members of his media aid presenting cards to the president. You saw people who have been visiting. They are the only ones that we know openly. But the others who are visiting secretly. And we are entitled to know, and we are privy to know that very important ministers of this cabinet still visit the president in London for executions and approvals. I wouldn't like to name names, but that's the reality.
Is that illegal?
Well, it's not that it's illegal, and that only authenticates my claim that there's no genuine intention to transmit power. Because the acting president is, with all due respect, like a figurehead. I mean, he cannot do or carry out major agenda of this regime. He cannot take major decisions. You saw how long it took for ministers that were confirmed by the Senate to be sworn in and given portfolios. Over 7 weeks.
How would you compare this situation that we have with the president being ill and that of late President Umar Musa Yar'Adua?
Well, I believe that in Nigeria, the executive of this country has always taken the people for granted. Because the same scenario that played out during Yar'Adua's regime is what we are witnessing now, except by the difference that the constitution has been amended now, by which even if letter is not transmitted to appoint an acting president, the constitution can be activated by the Senate or by itself. But the same scenario of outsourcing leadership, of a cabal that will be in control of power and be using credibility and be using personality to rule our people is what we are witnessing now. And the president we have now was alive at that time. And you remember what General Buhari said when President Yar'Adua was ill at the time. He said that he should resign.
Does this cabal you talk about have a regional